So, we're overdue to play some Golden Axe, yo. So, pardon me. For the first time, and hopefully not something we'll have to repeat very often, unless we intentionally want to see more of these, kind of director's commentary style videos. What happened when I recorded this is, silly me, I didn't test the audio mix properly. I had left my audio mixer on the same settings as when I was running the Genesis on mono. It's now in stereo, and it was pushing a much stronger signal out. So, the recording that you're seeing, unfortunately, the game music drowned out quite a bit of my voice as I was playing. I don't know why it was delayed so much in saying that. But yeah, Golden Axe, obviously, what a classic. Very much typifies the Genesis of 1989 going into 1990. Right up there with, your Revenge of Shinobi, Altered Beast, and I would say even Columns as well, but definitely more so the aforementioned. I didn't get to play this game as much in the 90s. I was exposed to it a little bit here and there, but I was much more heavily invested in Streets of Rage as far as the Genesis beat-em-ups go, and then of course, Turtles Hyperstone Heist. So, I come at Golden Axe a little bit more retroactively, because I didn't start getting more into the franchise until it was already part of a lot of compilations, and then was, especially when it was re-released on Xbox Live Arcade and PlayStation Network, among other places.
It did pass me by. I did play it at least.
But my former best friend was a big fan of it in the 90s, and then
dominated my attention.
we played it a lot online once it was re-released for the 7th gen systems.
And even now when I play this,
so then I was able to help him kind of relive a lot of memories, and shared a lot of good experiences playing this.
balanced the same way.
Because he was also one of those Genesis kids. It's funny to look back at that time in North America, because for a while the Genesis had a majority market share, but then depending on who you ask and where they lived, they might still give you the answer of well, everybody I knew had Super Nintendo. And that was the case where I lived. I was one of the few Genesis kids. Most people had Super Nintendo.
It's a great co-op game. It's also balanced.
But the funny things about coming at this, having first really invested a lot of time into the game on those more modern systems, is I was playing the version that was more so based on the arcade original, and also it was running on emulation, so it just responds and feels differently that way as well. So I have to give myself a little grace for finally investing a lot more time and energy into playing it on original hardware on Genesis. Because it does feel different. It's not an enormous night and day difference, but it definitely does respond differently. And, some changes were made for the conversion to Genesis from the arcade. And some of the game actually felt brand new, because it wasn't until more recent times that I even played the level that was created exclusively for home, and the new final boss that was added to the game. But Golden Axe, it's just sad that it's been kind of dumped on, even since the Genesis days, because you have to think about Golden Axe 3 was not even given a physical release in North America. Sega of America looked at it and said, it's graphically underwhelming, it's not gonna be a good look for the Genesis. Effectively, that was the reason. There may have been other quality control excuses given, but Golden Axe 3 is a really good game. Like, it is graphically simplistic and a bit underwhelming compared to other games that came out the same year, but Sega of America was like, at most, we'll make it available digitally on Sega Channel, and that was it. But then, at the same time, they approved and put the Sega seal of quality on games like Tailspin and Green Dog. Like, really, y'all? Like, why did you do that to one of your flagship franchises? It's like, it's one of the franchises that's synonymous with the Sega name. You know, right up there with Streets of Rage and Sonic and Shinobi, and then depending on what era of Sega you're coming from, it's also synonymous with, you know, Jet Grind Radio and Crazy Taxi and Virtua Fighter and all that. It's just sad. And then there was the awesome Golden Axe, The Revenge of Death Adder in arcades, and that would have made a great Saturn game, even if it had to be pared back a little bit. But instead, we got Golden Axe The Duel. Now, that's not a bad game. In fact, I really like the art in that game. But that's not what fans were expecting or hoping for. And that's not the kind of game, especially when you had your Street Fighter Alphas coming out and your Darkstalkers and, you know, all these amazing 2D fighters. Like, that's not the game that was going to win over people to the Saturn. And it's not what people coming from the Genesis were hoping to see continued. And then Sega of America held on to the Genesis. Like, as much as I love the system, they probably held on for too long. Like, the Saturn was already failing and, like, drowning and needing help in the West, and Sega of America is like, no, let's just keep pushing more games like Vector Man, then Vector Man 2, and Comic Zone, and Sonic 3D Blast. It's like, you know, that stuff should have been pushed more to the Saturn. Or at least, like, we should have been getting follow-ups to those games. You know, so us Genesis kids would have had a stronger reason to reconsider whether or not to buy a Saturn or a PlayStation. Like, the Saturn has an amazing library, and it's an awesome game system, but it was really done dirty in the West. It's just, as much as I love that era of gaming, like, it was also kind of a weird time to be a Sega fan. It's like, to find out in hindsight, like, how much infighting there was between Sega of Japan and America, and the disconnect between all the regions and their strategies. It's just like, they defeated themselves as much as they were defeated by anyone else. And unfortunately, Golden Axe is one of the franchises that suffered for it. But the only new game we've gotten since the Duel is Beast Rider, which I thought was good, but it wasn't really what fans were hoping for or expected, and it wasn't, you know, it was rushed, and it should have had some form of co-op. Like, it wasn't really the follow-up that the franchise deserved. So let's hope that the Golden Axe that's coming up as part of Sega's new era, new energy, is respectful of this, what we're seeing here. And it needs to have some kind of local co-op, or else I'm not sure if I'll be interested in investing any energy into it, but we'll see. So, at least the upside of doing a dub like this is, oh, by the way, this is the moment, sorry, before I lose my train of thought, because I was already maxed out on Magic, and I had made a remark that there was probably some min-max munchkin out there that's already, like, figured out exactly how to use all the magic while not wasting any pots, like, you know, getting the optimal magic usage, which I clearly did not on this playthrough, but you know, I don't have the experience in this game that I do with something like Streets of Rage. Like, that game, I jump in and you can just kind of tell, like, I approach it with much more confidence. But, yeah, so the upside of doing a dub like this is, since I'm not spending part of my energy focused on the game, I'm trying to win. This game's not easy, even though I gave myself a little bit of extra health at the start, like, it's still, yeah, this is a tough one. But
problem.
Yeah, the reality is,
All these years later, on the Sega Astro City.
the recording setup is kind of sketch, as far as, like, I actually am happy with the webcam, especially with the resolution that I tend to run it at, but, you know, I need a new microphone. This thing's really small. I got it originally to record acoustic guitar, and it's still good for that, or if I ever wanted to record, like, the djembe, or anything like other kind of acoustic drums. But for voiceover, it's not very suitable. It's tiny. It's just this, like, little clip-on USB mic, but not like a lab mic, you know, that is proper for, you know, doing small-scale voice work. And I've been experimenting with different places to put it to at least try to get a little better, you know, push, because I have a weak voice and I'm not a great speaker. I've been getting better since I started this channel and streaming more actively. I mean, even in a couple months, I can see and hear where I've improved so much. But even so, I still consider that a big weakness of mine. But the problem is, now that I've moved it closer to me while I'm playing, it's no longer clamped securely in place on the tripod where the camera's mounted. So if I shuffle too much in my seat, which, by the way, isn't even a chair, I'm sitting on my mattress. I don't have a chair. I have some dining room chairs, but, you know, they're basic wood chairs. They're fine for, you know, dining. But I don't use them. I've only used them in one video, and they squeak a little too much, or creak, I should say. I'm always concerned that the mic's gonna pick up too much of that, even with noise canceling on. And plus, they're just not comfortable to sit in. And I definitely would not want to sit in those for a full stream, or even a Let's Play of this length. I know it's a first world problem, but, like, I need an actual gaming chair. But with the mattress, you know, I sometimes sink in place, or, you know, accidentally shuffle around, and all of a sudden it sounds as though I'm, like, I've drifted so far away from the mic, even though, like, I might only have gone a few millimeters away. So, you know, and I need a desk too, like, you know, the laptop's on the floor, I've kind of got the cords just splayed about. So it'd be nice to have a stable platform for everything to sit on, and the cables can rest securely and not have as much chance of anything accidentally you know, getting tangled or coming unplugged ever so slightly and disrupting the recording.
It's like they have no flesh and no armor. Consistently harder to kill these updates.
So,
It's maybe fantasy.
and of course there's also the issue of, you do see a bit of a screen, I don't even know if flicker is the correct word. It's like there's a bit of instability with the image, and it's not always there. It doesn't seem to happen as much if I record stuff on PlayStation or Saturn, so I don't know if it's specific to the Genesis or systems of its specific period. It's not the Genesis itself, because when I play in private, it's absolutely crisp and clean, works beautifully, the image on the TV is perfect. So I'm thinking it's possibly something with the splitter, or the capture card that doesn't necessarily like the signal it's getting. So I haven't identified the cause, so it's one of those things where, like,
Really cool, like,
on this channel, I do purposely
every single time you
embrace a degree of imperfection. You know, because I'm trying to keep it real. You know, I'm running on composite, I'm playing on a CRT, it's all original hardware, and yeah, I'm trying to bring you back to the 90s, or in this case, the 80s. You know, to the extent that's possible. You know, this is a video file that's getting compressed and put on the internet, and, you know, there's only so much I can transfer from you being in the room with me, watching me play,
I didn't mean to skip that fast.
to, you know, the way you're seeing it right now.
Oh, we were on the map.
But that said, anything that could make it unwatchable, I'm trying to mitigate. I did not instigate that. I'm completely innocent. I did not make them fall off.
Did you do
I swear. Now just let me ride my beast in peace. Before you get any ideas, the only beasts I ride are Golden Axe. When these annoying bad guys let me. They have this irritating propensity to always dash and do a charge attack at you as soon as you're a certain distance away. The enemies are just very irritating. And they seem slow and stodgy, but then they pull that stuff. And then of course when you try to do a jump attack, especially the big jump and the downward lunge, then all of a sudden they're like ninjas, and they just always sidestep. It's like, that's wonderful. But I know part of that's also my inexperience. I know if I dedicated as much, or at least close to as much time playing this as I have Streets of Rage, that I could kind of mitigate some of those annoyances dealing with these peeps. But I love this game so much. It's such a vibe. Despite some of its flaws and some of its archaic nature, like it's a classic for a reason. But another thing that's interesting here, well, this is the last stage of the game in the arcade version. And depending on what system you're playing this on and which version you ended up getting, this might also be your last level.
Yes, full power.
But another thing that I have the opportunity to mention, since I can more casually give a commentary and not having to focus so much on the game, is you might have noticed if you've watched any uploads of my live streams that I've already upgraded the presentation a bit, like, you know, started experimenting more with wallpapers and, you know, like marketing slogans and just other stuff to try to like bring some extra retro vibes to the show. Whereas in this playlist right now, things are a little bit more Spartan, a little more basic. And you know, even though I'm recording this after the video that will have gone up 1 week prior in the same playlist, but then this is also being recorded after all those live streams where you see me, you know, trying to get a little more fancy with the presentation. So it can be a little chronologically confusing, but I wanted to keep this playlist aesthetically consistent with itself for this season, because when we get to autumn, I will consider that to be like literally the next season of my show, along with the actual next season.
Boots are walking all over you, just deal with it.
So we're going to attempt to have a similar jump in quality as the Star Trek: The Next Generation Season 1 to 2. Although I like some of Season 1, you can just see, like, not just Riker's beard, but a lot of aesthetics change. And the writing changes, the presentation is upgraded. So, you know, I'm not going to pretend to have the same level of quality as that show. However, the idea is that you can kind of look at Season 1 of this playlist, and it has a certain visual identity versus how it's going to look in Season 2. That's part of the whole time capsule thing. It's you know, going back to what I said a lot more in the initial videos of this playlist is, you know, I want this to kind of have a home videos sort of vibe to it. Like if we had the right equipment, like, how would we have done a Let's Play of Sega Genesis games in the 90s? So this is my way of trying to kind of have that in a way that's shareable for you all.
Not foolproof either.
And then also, you know, for my own record, for all the reasons that I've already stated, but I don't mind repeating it, because, you know, as much as I would like for everyone who's watching this right now to have watched every video that preceding it, I know that's not always the case, so sometimes it's worth repeating a few things. But I'd like to have something to survive me when I'm no longer here, of my time with these games and my hobby, and what I grew up with.
He might have been taking
Or if I'm still here, but I can no longer physically play these, which is a very sad thought. So yeah, although I appreciate that somebody at Sega thought maybe we should give the players a little more bang for their buck and make the game a little longer. Yeah, they kind of messed the story up a little bit. It's like, oh, sometimes he goes through that door, so that he must have somebody he's reported to. But it's like, Death Adder's supposed to be the main bad guy, though. And I don't think this level was play-tested and polished as much as the rest of the game. But I mainly say that about the final boss, but this level is also... I think the sheer amount of like, instant death falls is a little bit jank, but... and you have to do a running jump over this. Well, you definitely can't do the big jump, because that's more height than distance, so you'll fall. A regular jump, maybe you can make it across too, but... just to be safe, I always do the dash attack over it. I didn't cause him to fall off, I swear. I am innocent. As you know, I'm not on any naughty lists for Santa Claus, if Santa Claus is actually real. Well, I guess I am now, after what I just did to that enemy, but... and that one too. So, there's definitely upsides to dubbing over, but I also do kind of hate that the game audio just overwhelmed the original voiceover so much, because I do enjoy my little reactions to things that happen in the game. Because, like, even though I know generally what to expect, there's always these little things that are different on each playthrough, and of course, with games that I've not played as much in their original version, like this, there's also things that I might literally be experiencing for the first time, and it's nice to have that on camera. But I also, honestly, I never thought I'd say something like this, because I used to be so down on myself, and so sometimes I still am. It's a struggle. I'm my own worst critic, but I found that I enjoy my little reactions sometimes to the enemies, and, you know, talking crap to them. And, like this guy, I was like, why can't you just come up here where I am? So I lost 2 magic pots for no good reason. So yeah, that certainly doesn't help, going up against this cheap-ass final boss and not even having full magic. It's like, that's just wonderful. It's like, that's what I was gonna do to you. You can't do that to me. I finally had to burn a continue, but I did feel good, though, because in previous runs of this, I don't think I'd ever gotten that far before I finally had to use a continue. Now, I know part of the reason is because I did give myself a little boost with that health bar. Ideally, I'd like to get to the point, at least, where I can defeat it just leaving all the settings on default. I'm sure I can get there eventually, but... This is one of those games that I only play semi-regularly, though. Like, I love it, I enjoy it, but it's just not in the rotation as much as, you know, a lot of my other go-to Sega games.
Oh yay, this battle.
This guy is just so cheap. Deathbringer, I think that's his name. I said Death Grinder, and I'm like, where the heck did I get that? That's probably a death metal band name somewhere. This guy's so cheap, though, because, like, when he lands any attack on you, he then gets a free extra magic attack.
It's one of the cheapest bosses.
And he's the only enemy that gets to attack you while you're down. Like, you don't get any invincibility frames or anything.
I'm down already.
Cheap bastard.
With a magic attack.
So,
You cannot possibly evade.
I definitely think this is more balanced for
And you never run out.
co-op, whereas if you can have somebody keeping the skeletons busy, and then one person that can
Brilliant design,
actually attack the boss without being constantly harassed,
And again,
I'd
it's
imagine
nice
that was
someone thought,
probably how it
maybe
was
the game's a little short if you
playtested the most
do a straight
for balance
arcade
and
version,
polish.
but
But, you know, not that Golden Axe has, like, a deep or consistent lore anyway, but I also do kind of hate how this boss messes up the story. Because now Death Adder, although it still looked like his axe was kind of gold to
What
me,
do I know
like,
about
but apparently it's a red axe, and of course, you know, Deathbringer here has a green axe, and it's like, well, wait, where's the golden axe? Like, that's the thing that Death Adder was supposed to have stolen, and it disrupted the peace of the kingdom, and allowed him to unleash evil, and it's like,
or if they were at least like,
I mean, it still looks gold to me. It's kind of got a little bit of a
I
red
think in
tint, but
theory you can.
I guess compared to the arcade game, it's not as gold, so
They have, like,
I don't know. Maybe I'm just going crazy. I also don't know if if there's any different revisions on the Genesis,
Have better luck trying to kill Deadpool.
because I did have to play this one off of the 6-pack. So I don't know if there was ever any, like, color palette swaps or any updates to this versus the original 1989 release. I will eventually get the first print cartridge,
I think the only
And,
saving grace is that if you're not
yeah, because I love the manual and the box art, and just quite frankly, the 6-pack is cheaper, which is one of those weird things where it's like, it's such a better value, and it's not like a cheap cash-in compilation, like some that you see. Like, it's actually the, you know, original software made by Sega on a real cartridge, and you get 6 games, and yet it goes for, like, dirt cheap prices compared to all the games individually, which is just, it's crazy how that kind of thing works. But, and I know practically speaking, there's no reason to have the individual releases if you have this cartridge, but
it's very special.
I don't know. I think there's some good reasons to have both. Like, I mean, me, I like the artwork and the boxes, and sometimes with games that have had multiple revisions, sometimes it's interesting to have you know, original copies of different revisions. But there's also the matter of
I'm already lost that life. It still attacks me.
you know, playing at home. I would usually put in the individual copies, and then if I have to travel is when I would probably take the 6-pack, is what would usually happen. But yeah, this boss, isn't he just, yeah, isn't he special? It's the skeletons, though. It's like, the skeletons actually have more health than the boss, which is crazy. Like, you can technically kill them, but you're almost better off trying to kill Deadpool. They just, they have such an enormous
seems to be like the most
health meter. Like, it's like, you just have to do your best to avoid them, and then eventually the boss will go down. And when you see that axe spinning, it's like, so satisfying.
Yeah, Deathbringer.
Oh, they call me gallant. Now the people will live?
Oh, people can live. Prepare for a grand feast.
And we're gonna have a grand feast? My heart is full. Oh, now we're legendary.
We're legendary.
So, if you've never tried to do a dub, well, specifically, the way I tried to do it the first go around, it's like I tried to, in cans, listen to what I said on the original recording
I'll tell you.
and tried to
I miss when games did this. Like,
word for
did you
word
roll
match
call
it
for the enemies?
with,
Great.
you know, a slight margin of error. It wasn't going to be perfectly
I love
synced,
knowing how much
but
it
like
weighs. Like,
with
this
so
one
much
does that one.
improvised dialogue and things that were reactionary, and you know, everything's very quick fire. It's really hard to do that. If you've never tried, it's really hard. So I figured doing a like DVD director's commentary kind of thing would work better. And I hope that you still find the video enjoyable, and that even though you can't really hear much of my original voice monologue from the live playthrough, that, you know, at least the little bit of dress up and the expressions are still fun. So I feel like the metal bikini and the war paint were necessary to beat the game. I tell myself that's why I didn't beat it on the 35th anniversary Sega Genesis live stream. Although I wasted a whole lot continues worth of lives in the stupid pits on stage 7. That's really what happened. But I love this. I wish more games still did this. Like the roll call of all the enemies you defeated. It's kind of like a way to celebrate that you defeated them. And look, I was about to make a bitter beer joke, and then literally those bosses are called Malt and Hop. I'm like,
beat me to it.
The joke's been made for me. I was gonna say something about bitter beer face, and then the game just like it bowled that strike for me. That chicken leg, I always call them a cockatrice.
Which also appears.
Because I think they're called that in Dungeons and Dragons, and then I think they're even called that in Altered Beast, because that same monster's in Altered Beast, but I don't know. We'll see. Who can say? Maybe it's a localization thing. Hopefully we'll see those dragons again in Golden Axe 2.
It has a beak.
We'll play that sometime soon, maybe next season. I know I played Sonic 1 and 2 back-to-back at the beginning of this playlist, but aside from that, I'm generally trying to keep my sequels spaced out a little bit. Trying to spread the love around to my Genesis library as much as possible.
I could sleep easy knowing I'm gonna play away.
Look, there's Death Adder Jr. You only fight him if you play beginner mode, which I think is only 3 levels long. So it's a little junior boss for little newcomer gamers. They get their own boss.
I don't know, am I going crazy? Like, that looks
Real
like
Death Adder. See that axe? I guess that's more of a reddish bronze, but it still kind of looks goldish, like a dull gold, I guess. I don't know. I'm probably overthinking it, as I overthink many things in life. Deathbringer, boo. Terrible. Also, the skeletons they deserve a boo. Least valuable player ever. But there's my girl Tyrus. And of course, Gilius Thunderhead's probably the most famous hero of Golden Axe, which is understandable. He's very visually distinct. And he's very cool to play as, but, you know, Tyrus is my girl. I love her. Right up there with Blaze Fielding in Streets of Rage. I love my Sega girls. And I love these credits, and you can see from my reaction, like, I hadn't actually seen these. I mean, I think I may have, like, glimpsed this screen very briefly from somebody else's, like, review of the game at some point, but, like, it's so simple. It's just reusing some assets, but, like, you know, the people who designed this, they didn't have to be that cute and creative with the credits, but I just appreciate that extra touch. Like, I know it looks so probably simple and archaic to some of you watching, but I really appreciate touches like this. And it's also showing that the game's not taking itself too seriously, you know?
It's just this, like, extra cute and creative.
Although the arcade version was bloodier and a little more violent, but even so, you know, it's not totally full of itself. It's just cute and fun. What can I say? I love it. And like with the roll call with the bad guys, it feels like a nice little reward. Without hitting me over the head with, you know, an army's worth of credits. Plus, there's Vinyl Boy that assisted with the programming. I mean, like, how can you get better than that? I mean, unless you're talking about, you know, Yuji Naka or Yu Suzuki or the legends, but Vinyl Boy, I think, deserves to be a legend as well.
Yeah.
And Opa Opa, look, Fantasy Zone reference. Now, if you can read lips, you probably noticed I said Fantasyland at first, and then I corrected to Fantasy Zone. I was like, you know, I got my fandoms crossed.
Doesn't hold the same place.
I probably just lost some Sega Street cred there, but it's fine.
Even columns occupies.
Team Shinobi, respect.
I have.
Yeah, what an awesome game. I love it.
That finally, all these years later, Sega can do right by it.
There's a reason why it's a classic.
Definitely, highly recommend this. It'll feel kind of janky compared to even other beat 'em
You can
ups.
see my previous attempt where I got rank B. I got.
Especially if you have someone who likes to play
I think I got
beat 'em ups
smoked by the last boss.
co-op.
Big surprise. Yeah, definitely thumbs up. I agree with my past self. It's funny
And of course,
doing things
for
like
fans
this
of
where
sorcery,
it's almost like I'm
myself,
in a way interacting with
like
my past
Conan
self,
Barbarian,
or
the
my
rest
past self and present self are helping my future self and future you, who is watching it in what is now your present. Isn't time travel awesome? So past me and present me are gonna hang out in the jukebox mode, which is something every game should have. And I always take every opportunity to explore that, especially anytime I complete one of these Let's Plays. So, past me, present me, future me, thank you for watching. Thanks for supporting the channel. Like, every comment, every bit of support and love that everyone's been showing for the new channel and the new playlist has been wonderful. It makes my heart happy, and I'll do my best to keep improving it. But thanks for watching, thanks for playing. Be excellent to each other. Party on if that's your thing. So, all the versions of me and Sonic Plushie wish you a great day.
Thank you, everyone. Have a great day. Be excellent to each other.
May the blast process guide you.